Hello, friends. This is George Pappas, former immigration judge and attorney at law. This is my second video, and I posted something a few days ago, namely an ideological hint of why the immigration crisis that we face today has prevailed throughout the country. And I wanted to speak a little more about the ideological smokescreen that is shielding a lot of the clarity about why things are happening. And I'm going to try to do this obviously in a short space of time, so it may be a challenge, but we'll give it a go. J.D. Vance, our vice president, is going around the country trying to tell us and redefine who an American is. I don't know if you're aware of this, but according to Vice President J.D. Vance, you are only an American if you have dirt or soil in this country. In other words, if you don't have heritage that goes back to the American Civil War or the American Revolution, you're not classified as one of the culturally real Americans. What's the problem here? According to J.D. Vance, only real Americans are entitled to claim the American spirit, the American culture. So if you're a recently arrived or naturalized United States citizen, according to Mr. Vance, you're not at the real hierarchy. You're at a lower hierarchy. Hang on to that thought, ladies and gentlemen. Hang on to that thought, because someone else has been promoting this in a different way. Perhaps we've heard of the Assistant Chief of Staff individual named Stephen Miller. Mr. Miller has been promoting quietly throughout the years a book called Camp of Saints. It's a French novel talking about how Indians are invading France, diluting and threatening their way of life, their Western civilization. The same theme permeates with what J.D. Vance is doing. So between Stephen Miller's xenophobic promotion by trying to influence Breitbart news reporters and other press, there is a cultural elite that has rights and privileges over other people in the United States. This elitism or cultural privilege is based on the fact that these real Americans will poison our country. They will poison our blood. You may remember in the 1930s, there was a Nazi regime in Germany that talked about Jews poisoning the blood of their culture. The similarities here are ominous and quite dangerous. It's defining the other. Once you dehumanize another, it's very easy to expel them, hurt them, or kill them. Let's go into this a little deeper, because this explains why there's an attack on due process in immigration courts. As you know, the immigration courts have been hijacked. As a former judge, I can tell you that this administration has done everything in its power to undermine fair hearings and due process. In fact, just a few days ago, they're telling judges how to rule in certain cases with respect to bond. They tried that with me. They wanted me to grant motions to dismiss back in June, so the people whose cases were dismissed would be immediately arrested and detained, deported to God knows where. That's the reasoning behind undermining due process in immigration courts. If we slow down, expel, deport as many people, the threat to our so-called Western civilization is diminished. The poison to our blood is diminished. Do you see what's going on here? The last thing they want to do is have immigration reform let all these real Americans into the United States. But it's not just immigration. Let's take this into a wider context. The attack on universities. What do universities do? They're accused of educating people to think. What does that education do? It promotes multiculturalism, the exact opposite of what Steve Miller or J.D. Vance would want to do. So there's another reason why universities are under attack. They've been blackmailed, as you know, from Harvard and others. Lawsuits left and right, money's held up. That's just universities. Who else has been attacked? We don't want the press to question our government. We don't want the press to edit any interview. We want to control the truth. That's this government. It's another attack on promoting a diversity of views or even the truth. Of course, the attack on the truth is another issue that undermines Western approaches to how we run our country. If you undermine the truth and you question the truth, you as a democracy fall down. You have to have a baseline of truth to have a discourse. What's also been attacked? UN aid to foreign countries. Our soft power has been helping millions of people throughout the world to avoid starvation. According to this government, that soft power promotes opportunity for non-Western civilized countries to perhaps enter the United States later on through immigration. Have you noticed with the travel ban where all of our so-called immigrants are going to be deported to? They're being deported to what President Trump has described as shithole countries. Look at that list, about 39 countries. They're not being deported to Europe. They're being deported to Western civilized countries who want to expel them. So what you have here is a hierarchy of power based upon heritage and soil. As J.D. Vance says, I can only offer my wife soil and debt. That's how he proposed to his wife, because his ancestors went back to the Civil War. That gave him some sort of privileged standing. But this hierarchy of who a real American is contrary to the Federalist Papers, number one. It's certainly contrary to the Declaration of Independence, where it states quite clearly, all men are created equal. That is the ideological framework. Those are the shared cultural values that we have in this country. We're not a country built on heritage alone. We're a country that's constantly evolving and changing, hence the need for immigrants, talented immigrants, hardworking immigrants. That's what makes America different. The constant work in progress, the constant evolution. That's what makes us better than just about every country out there. It's not based on heritage. I'm going to continue this discussion as we move along. It's not something that's easily defined in 2 or 3 minutes, but I wanted to give you a taste of how this administration is using an ideological smokescreen to justify its power. Let's talk about this soon. Have a good night, everybody. Take care.